Can you teach me some Chinese words?
Yeah, what you want to know?
I want to know, how do you say, what's your name?
你叫什么名字？
你叫什么名字？
Yeah, yeah.
你叫什么名字？
There you go. That's it. Yeah, it's the easiest way to remember it.
明白。
Yeah.
How about you're so handsome?
你是非常非常很帅。
Again?
你很帅。
你很帅。
Yeah, sort of like, yeah, you can say 你很帅。
你很帅。
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you're
你
very
很帅。
thank you. Yeah. Okay.
How about I love you?
我爱你。
我爱你。
Yeah, and then if you really love the person back, you say 我更爱你。
我更爱你。
我更爱你 means
我更爱你。
I love you more. Yeah.
我更爱你。
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You spent 8 years in China, but you haven't really talked about, your experiences in China.
It was cool.
Was it?
It was super cool, yeah.
Can I ask a few questions about
You can
it?
ask a whole lot. You can ask whatever you want to ask.
Okay, so before I head into these questions, welcome back to Richie Rich Abroad.
I'm your host, Richie Rich.
And this is Chang. For today's video, I am going to ask Rich about his personal experiences living in China for 8 years. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I'm getting old.
But before we do, don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get updated on our latest videos.
That's right. And don't forget to leave those comments because you know we like to read them.
And we like to respond.
And stay tuned to the end of this video because you know we're 4 minutes in and there's already bloopers. So there'll be plenty more at the end of this video. All right, Ching, kick the intro and let's get into this video.
What?
Going by trike. Here we go.
So for my first question, what took you to China and how long did you live there?
Actually, to be honest, I was kind of going through like a thing, probably like a little midlife crisis, to be honest. And it was one of those things. I had a bucket list, and one of the things I always wanted to do is I always wanted to live in another country. And it was just something I always wanted to do. I traveled around Europe, traveled to Asia before, but I wanted to experience living in another country. And I had the opportunity to do it, so I did. And I stayed there for like 8 years, from 2013 to 2021. Yeah.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, it was wild. It was a minute.
Why China?
I had accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish at that time. And there was just so many changes, and I just wanted to do something different. I had the opportunity to do it, so I did.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how was the language barrier at first? Did you pick up Mandarin pretty quickly, or most of the time you were just guessing?
Nah, I didn't actually speak Mandarin probably for the first 2 years because none of the people I hung out with spoke Mandarin. But actually, only a couple did. No, we all had our little clique, and we all spoke English, so we didn't need to learn Mandarin. But after 2 years, I kind of felt stupid being there and not learning the language. So I just decided on my own I was going to start learning, and I had some people help me to learn. A lot of people kind of chipped in. I would ask questions. How do you say this? And what does that mean? People were really cool to help me to learn the language.
Nice. So for example, you did something like a watch telenovela or like a drama series so you can learn Chinese?
No, it didn't help me none. I would just ask questions. How do you say this? What does that mean? And people were really cool about teaching me. Everybody, when you're trying to learn their language, people are really cool about trying to teach you. Everybody was chipping in, trying to teach me and help me learn. So, and then I had a couple close friends help me to learn too. So that really helped.
Okay. Yeah. So how long did it take you to learn the language?
I'd say like 5 years.
5 years?
I'd say to become fairly fluent, it took like 3 years.
Got it. So what were your first impressions when you arrived in China?
Wow. I was in shock. I was like in shock.
How come?
Because I had never lived in a foreign country. And to be honest, I almost didn't go because I got cold feet And at the last minute, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And I was like, in that moment, I decided I was going to go. So like my first couple weeks, I was in shock. I remember I kept walking around being like, dude, I live in China. I would like say that to myself all the time. I lived in like a small city, which was 6 million people. That was like a small city kind of, or kind of a medium-sized city is only 6 million people. So if you're black and you're walking around, if you're any color that's not Chinese, everybody's staring at you and looking at you. And I didn't speak the language at all. And it was just, you're just in shock. Yeah.
Got it. So how did you compare your expectations compared to the reality of life and living in China?
I didn't have no expectations.
You don't have?
I know, because I knew nothing. I didn't know nobody in China. I didn't know nothing about China. That's what I knew about China. I didn't know what to expect.
Well,
I just knew I knew it was going to be an adventure. That's what I knew. I knew it was going to be an adventure. I knew it was going to be tough, and I knew I was up for it. That's all.
So did you experience any like culture shock when you first arrived? And if so, how did you like adapt?
Every day was culture shock. Every day. Everything was a culture shock. I mean, it was like, there's cameras everywhere, but you don't see them unless you're looking for them. When you start looking for them, you notice there are cameras everywhere watching you. Everywhere. No matter, you can be outside and you can freeze and look up and you'll find a camera. If you look this way, you'll see a camera. Getting used to being watched all the time. Don't matter if you ain't done nothing, but just understanding that they're always watching you. And then just different food. Yeah, I mean, the whole food culture was just off the hizzo. I mean, so me and Henry went to, like, we was doing KFC, we was doing McDonald's, like late night runs for KFC. Out, you know, we was out at the pubs and doing our thing. Yeah, it was just, it was a lot of culture shock. A lot of culture shock.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what kind of work did you do in China, and how did you get that job?
Well, I started off as a liaison for this steel company in a city called Jiayin, which is in Jiangsu, China. And I started out as a liaison. It's supposed to be like a legal representative, but you know, in China, they kind of embellish things and make you believe that certain things are going to happen that aren't going to happen. And so I ended up working for this company, and then I got the hookup from some friends of mine that I met, and they were all teaching English. So we started all working together and teaching English. And then Henry came over and he worked with us, and we had like a whole crew. Shout out to Eric, shout out to Paul, shout out to Henry, and shout out to Chubbs.
Okay.
All right.
So you're basically like a liaison officer or liaison.
No, they just wanted my resume, and so I end up being for the people who were foreign investors. I end up kind of being the liaison for the foreign investors.
So you're something like a trophy that they can show off.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's like it's just they have jobs like that, just where it gives them face. It gives their company more face. And from that job, I actually got a job opportunity to work at the university, to work at Fudan University and teach at Fudan University, which was a really great opportunity because Fudan University is like one of the top 5 universities in all of China. So it was really, really cool to get to be an assistant professor there.
I see. Got it. So did you face like any challenges as a professional black man in working in China?
I don't think so. In fact, here's what I think. And different people might have different perspectives, but I feel like it has so much to do with how you present yourself. Face means so much to people in China. So if you have the credentials, if you have the education background, they will use you for a whole bunch of stuff. If you can speak publicly, they used us to speak at every occasion for every little thing that they had going on. They put us front and center for us to work together. And I think it has so much to do with who you are and what you bring to the table. I really do. And that was my experience. I'm sure there's other people that have different experiences, but for me, I never had a challenge. I never had a challenge as far as getting a job. And I felt like so many opportunities were open up to me because of the way I handled situations. I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't like confrontation or nothing like that. And I spoke my piece when I needed to, but I was open to doing things and helping the company to grow, helping the company get better, using my face, or my resume or whatever I had to make the company better.
Got it. So how easy or difficult was it to make friends in China?
It wasn't difficult at all. It was like my first week there was so cool. I mean, this is like things that are etched in my memory because my dude Paul took me out. Paul is from the UK. He's from Wales. He took me out, and I remember he took me to lunch, and it was Tuesday, and we're sitting there eating, and there was pap pap, and he said, oh, and I was like, what? He said, every Tuesday they have the executions. And I was like, word? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, yep, 3:00. And I was like, what? And he said, every Tuesday at 3:00, they have the executions. They do it so that everybody can hear it. So it sets an example. So there's less crime and all that stuff. Wow. And I was like, I'm in my first week, I'm in shock. And I'm just sitting there tripping. I'm just sitting there shocked. He was like, I'm just playing. Right? And I was like, dude, and he had me because I'm stupid and naive.
You had me also.
Yeah, I'm stupid and naive, so I believed it. But Paul was my dude when I first got there. He took me out. He introduced me to Eazy-E, Eric. Eric, I know you're gonna watch this, so what's up, dude? He introduced me to Eazy-E, who can sing. My man can sing, boy. And first night out, all of us together. Eric was singing Beijing, Beijing, and he turned it out, and it was me, Paul, Eric, Henry, and we just had our own little crew, and it was cool. So and Chubbs too, but Chubbs was married, so he had married a Chinese girl, so he couldn't get out like the rest of us. But we always had a good time. Yeah. So
you're like a cool crew. You're like
we
the
had
cool
our
kids.
Little crew. Yeah, we had our little crew, and then Eazy-E is Chinese, and then we had Carol and then Tina. So we had our little crew of cute girls, but they were but for real, this is on the real. They were like sisters. They were like little sisters for us, and we watched out for them and all that, and we were just cool. So, yeah, it's like
I got it. Yeah. So it's like people wanted to hang out with you because you're like the expats from that country.
No, we were the cool expats.
I stand corrected.
Cool
You were the cool expats during that time. And of course, being an expat in China, it's kind of unique. So a lot of people would want to hang out with you.
Yeah, and people saw that we had a good time. We was always having a good time, and we didn't mind staying out super late. We didn't. In fact, there was times we didn't mind staying out till the sun came up, like for reals. I mean, just
so it's like college all over.
It was like college. You know what? It was like college all over again. That's what it was. Literally like being in college all over again.
Okay, so this is the part that I want to know. So what were dating and relationships like as a black man in China?
Oh man, it was fun. It was fun. I'm gonna say this. I'll say this. If you're black, when I went to China, people say, "Oh man, they don't like black dudes in China." You just you can forget about dating in China because they don't like black men. That's just some bullshit. They like a dude with swag. It wasn't about money. Now, if you're trying to marry somebody, you better have some money. If you're trying to marry somebody, you're trying to settle down and all of that, you better have some money. But if you're just out and you're trying to attract women, if you got swag, women are gonna come to you. It wasn't hard. Let's just say it wasn't hard. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking, dear.
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah. I mean, you can't get the smile off your face, so you look like you had like a great time dating.
We had a good time. We had a good time. It was, it was, yeah. We were well liked.
Okay, I hear you. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean only China. I mean, also wherever you go, if you have that swag, I think you won't have a problem.
That's wherever you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just say people were happy to give me Chinese lessons.
I know what kind of lessons are there.
I'm just saying, it was a way for me to learn Chinese a lot quicker.
Okay. So, have you encountered any cultural misunderstandings when forming relationships?
A whole bunch of them.
Name a few.
And I mean, when forming relationships, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff I didn't understand. Same as being here.
Did you feel a sense of community when it comes to Black men in China?
Yeah, actually, I did. We had a good crew of Black dudes too. Davies, I'll shout out to Davies, shout out to Kemp, shout out to Ben, and there's a couple other Black girls that we worked, Letitia, that we worked together at certain times, and we had a good relationship. We hung out together, did a lot of stuff together. We had good relationships for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the group of Black expats, do they also speak Mandarin? They also speak the language?
I think some of them did. I don't know. I don't know that they spoke as. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I don't know that theirs was as good as mine, because a lot of times when we were together, I ended up being the interpreter. But I think some of them did, at least to a certain extent. Yeah.
Yeah. Who lived longer in China? Who spent the most time in China?
I think my dude Ben is still in China. In fact, he just hit me up a little bit ago, but he's still in China. And then I think a lot of cats left after COVID, during or after COVID. Yeah, I think a lot of cats left in the last year. So.
Okay. So had you experienced racism or discrimination in China, and how did you handle that?
Did I experience racism? You know what? I'm not going to call it racist. I'm going to call it ignorance. It's ignorance. Little people literally would touch my skin and do this, for real, touch my skin and look, and they were shocked that it didn't rub off on them, right? Or people always wanted to touch my hair, and then there was always stereotypes, like Black dudes are gangsters, or can you dunk? Like I'm Michael Jordan or something like that, and it was ignorance, and what I learned to do is just understand for what it was. They weren't trying to be they weren't trying to be racist. They just didn't know, and it was more curiosity than anything else.
Gotcha. So do you think Chinese society's perception of being Black is changing?
I do. I do. Because of Obama. Obama had when I was there, Obama was president, and he had a big influence over how they thought about Black people. That helped their perception of Black people a lot. So I do think it's changing. However, having said that, what I absolutely know is that if you are Black, they treat African people different, and they treat Black American people different. During COVID, they had this narrative that COVID was spread by, because it's the Chinese Communist Party. They spread, they can change the narrative to whatever they want it to be, and all the people believe it because it's the only thing they hear. So they had changed the narrative and said that COVID was spread by African people.
Oh,
right. And so people start looking at me like I'm African. I'm like, no. First of all, I'm not even African. I never even been to Africa. But there was times during COVID I couldn't go places. I remember there was a sign on McDonald's that said Black people are not allowed.
Wow.
And yeah, that's real. That is real. No exaggeration. That Black people are not allowed in here. And they wouldn't let Black people stay at some hotels. And it didn't even matter because of the ignorance. Again, if you were American, it didn't matter. The fact that you were Black.
So have you ever felt unsafe or unwelcomed in any situation?
Unsafe? Absolutely not. China, I'll put this on record. China is the safest place you will ever be. As long as you don't go off running your mouth, just be nice, be friendly to other people, and people are going to be cool to you. It is the safest place because all the cameras, everything is being watched. So it doesn't matter. You'll see girls walking around 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's not a care in the world because it's a safe joint to be in. But as far as unwelcome, the COVID thing, there was definitely times when I felt unwelcome. I can't even imagine with like the African cats, how they must have felt.
So how did living in China compared to living in the US?
It was just a whole different ballgame. Just, there was no comparison. It was just everything every day was like a new experience. And I mean, you're just experiencing a new culture. You have to adapt to the culture. They're not going to adapt to you. It's their whole culture. You ain't going to walk in and change their whole country. So you have to learn to adapt. And there was a point where I had to decide. I was like kind of ready to leave. And I was like, look, if you're going to stay, you're just going to have to fix your mind and understand this is how they get down. And if you're not willing to do it, you need to go home. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to change my mindset. And I think that was the point to where I started really enjoying. I mean, I enjoyed it before, but I really started enjoying the whole experience and taking it in because I knew it was going to come to an end. And COVID kind of brought it to an end quicker, but I started enjoying it, like really enjoying the whole experience and taking it in, taking pictures of everything and all that because I wanted to make sure that like it was something that I remember forever.
Got it. So what were the biggest advantages and disadvantages of living in China?
The advantages is you get to see a whole different place, a whole different culture, learn a new language, see the Great Wall of China.
I want to see that.
Yes, I mean, just see Tiananmen Square where shit really did go down. And you get to go places where history took place, 5,000 years of history. It was just cool. And the disadvantages, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think there was disadvantages. I mean, that 8 years, well, in my mind, it'll be like something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It'll be like, I think it's one of the greatest decisions, one of the best decisions I've ever made. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the Great Wall of China real cool?
It's pretty cool. You just have to go at the right time because remember, there's 1.4 billion Chinese people. You go at the wrong time, you're going to pay.
So when's the best time?
Maybe the 3rd and 4th week of October is the best time to go because it's not too cold and it's not hot anymore and it's not crowded because everybody just came back from vacation. That's the best time to go.
Some things to consider.
Yeah. And don't ever travel during the Spring Festival. Don't do it.
Why?
Because you've never seen anything like it before. Because there's 1.4 billion people traveling.
So after 8 years in China, how did you feel about leaving? Were you ready to leave or were you ready to make a change?
I was ready to leave. I felt like I had a lot of, it's a place where people are coming and going a lot of times. You got other expats, they got 1 year or 2 year contracts. So many people had left. And so it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. And then when COVID hit, I had just took a real nice, a very comfortable position. And when COVID hit, I was ready to go. I remember COVID hit and I was there by myself. And I got quarantined for like 3 weeks and that sucked. And then I remember a time that I couldn't go to the park where like a policeman stopped me and he wouldn't let me go to the park. And when that happened, I was ready to leave.
Yeah.
I was cool. Yeah.
So you didn't think of China as your place for you, where you can stay for for the rest of your life? Never
considered once. Never once considered staying in China for the rest of my life. And the thought never crossed my mind.
COVID was like the reason.
COVID was the capper. Yeah, it was the capper. Yeah, I was ready to go.
So what was the most important lesson you learned from being in China or living in China?
Open mind. Open your mind. Open your mind to new ideas, new things, new concepts, new foods, just have an open mind and be ready to get on how other people get on. That's all. And if you can do that, you'll do well in life. If you can adapt to living in China like that, you're going to do okay in life.
You said something about food. So was there any food in China that you find really like intriguing and you end up liking it?
Man, my shiznit was spicy duck neck. Spicy duck neck was the bomb. Duck's blood. And then duck's blood was the bomb too. I ate scorpions. I ate snake. I ate a lot of stuff that people would not eat. But I'll tell you this, I could survive in the wilderness.
You ate a lot of
I could survive in the wilderness. I
things.
could eat all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I mean, just try it. Just try stuff. Be willing to try stuff that you never tried before. That's the whole
experience.
Yeah, it's all about the experience. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to another Black man who's considering moving or working in China?
Go. Absolutely.
So would you recommend China to men who
The answer is yes.
Would you recommend China to men who don't plan on settling down?
Yes. I would especially recommend China to men who don't plan on settling down. You have to, I mean, you can go to a place and you think you know everything. You think because you're experienced, you think you know what's going on, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going down. You got to learn. You have to learn stuff, just like same as being here. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the journey. It's the experience, the journey. All that makes it worthwhile. All that makes it worth doing. Same as the short time I was in Japan. It makes it all worth doing.
So that's it. I hope you liked the interview.
And it was a good time, but you brought back some good memories. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You can take the smile off your face.
Yeah, it was a cool time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's been 8 years, so it's like a really
and we're still boys too, right? So really quick, shout out to Easy E, shout out to Henry, shout out to Davis, shout out to Kemp, shout out to Ben, and shout out to Paul, shout out to Chubbs, and shout out to Hong Kong Henry, because I know you're watching, dude.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Leave your comments below.
And that's it.
That's it. And I really like to hear you talking, and especially when you're talking and you were smiling, you're like reminiscing all the good times, and I really want to see you like happy. So.
Don't laugh.
Can you teach me some Chinese words?
Yeah, that's not good acting. Come on.
Okay.
Let's try it again. Let's just say people were happy to give me Chinese lessons.
I don't know what kind of lessons are there.
I'm just saying it was a way for me to learn Chinese a lot quicker.
Okay. I'm not gonna ask more questions about religions. Okay.
It helped me to learn Chinese. I'm just saying. That's all.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So stay tuned for our next video on Friday, where we talk about why it's important. Where we talk about the thing. Well, how do we say it? Here's a blooper, huh? In the meantime, between time, don't you forget, if you like this video, we got a whole bunch of other videos that are just as good, if not better. So check those out too. I'm Richie Rich for Richie Rich Abroad.
And this is Cheng.
Deuces.
We're out.